From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Our top story, a CalTag man facing attempted murder 1 charges struck a deal with the state and pled guilty to a lesser charge at Fairbanks Superior Court.
43-year-old Todd Nikolai pled guilty to assault in the 2nd degree. Nikolai shot fellow CalTag resident Rusty Arkell in the arm with a shotgun back in September of 2014. Charging documents say that Arkell told Nikolai to pull the trigger, believing the gun was unloaded. Arkell was treated at CalTag before being medevaced to Fairbanks with injuries that were reported as serious but not life-threatening. Nikolai will serve 6.5 years with 2 suspended for a total of 4.5 years in prison.
The Alaska Board of Fisheries is taking a look at proposals that could affect those tapping into the marine resource at its regional 2016 meeting. Charges brought forward could affect commercial, sport, and subsistence fisheries in the Arctic, Yukon, and Kuskokwim areas. A Fairbanks Fish and Game Advisory Committee proposal to allow anglers to catch and keep Arctic grayling from specific parts of the Chena River will be discussed during a committee of the whole session tomorrow. New regulations would be in effect for 3 years to allow department scientists to collect data on harvests in the Chena. Board documents state little information is currently known on how a harvest would affect fish populations because it's been so long since one was allowed. Board members say public input during regional meetings has evolved to be critical part of the approving changes.
Over the years, we found that it seems to be a little better for the board if we just have the entire board in the room, the entire public in the room. It's much better if the public who is close to the grounds, close to the fish, closer than we board members are, can help us resolve these problems. It's the best thing that can happen for all of us. So.
The National Transportation Safety Board says wreckage from a small airplane that struck a downtown Anchorage building last month was incinerated in the post-crash fire. The NTSB released the preliminary report today in the December 29th crash that killed pilot Doug Demarest. A family spokeswoman says his death was a suicide. The plane struck the building that houses the law firm in which Demarest's wife is a partner. The impact severed the plane's right wing, which continued into an adjacent building. There were no other injuries. The NTSB report drew no conclusions about the cause of the crash. Witnesses saw the Cessna 172 flying low over Anchorage before striking the building. Demarest had taken the Civil Air Patrol search and rescue plane without authorization from a nearby airport. An Anchorage FBI spokeswoman says the agency is awaiting autopsy reports to conclude its investigation.
Driver's licenses and ID cards issued by the state of Illinois, Minnesota, Missouri, New Mexico, and Washington will not be accepted as valid when requesting the visitor access to Fort Wainwright and other military facilities in the nation. Now, by fall 2016, Alaska residents may also have a tougher time gaining access with their IDs. The change of policy at Fort Wainwright took place on Monday. The new standard complies with the Real ID Act passed by Congress in 2005, which requires that all 50 states follow a federal standard regarding driver's licenses and IDs. The law was put in place to increase security measures for U.S. airline flights and military installations. People requesting entry from the 5 states as well as the American Samoa territory must provide additional proof of identity. Alaska driver's licenses are also not up to Real ID standards. However, due to a federal extension, residents will be able to use their IDs to enter military facilities until at least October 10th of this year.
Well, actually, there are 23 states right now that have an extension. Some of the 23 that are pursuing compliancy are not interested in spending the money to update the identification card with the proper information. So I don't know what's going to happen down the future, but right now, yeah, the Alaska driver's license is good for any federal facility, but we'll just have to see what the future holds.
All right, when we come back, we'll give you a recap of last night's State of the Union address and what President Obama had to say. We'll have those details.
Also, with more than 2,000 reports of tax scams in 2015, the Better Business Bureau urges people to be more careful when doing their taxes. Those stories and more when we return. Stay with us.
And welcome back. The Nielsen Company says 31.3 million people watched President Barack Obama deliver his last State of the Union address. Now, that is his smallest audience ever for the annual speech. President Obama used his final State of the Union to counter what he calls election year hot air that he says wrongly downplays the economy and suggests America is weaker than its enemies. The president cast his 7 divisive years as a time of positive change, implicitly asking voters to replace him with a Democrat who would continue his hard-won policies on health care, climate change, and Iran. He rebutted critics, naysayers, and the GOP White House hopefuls, but also acknowledged his own failure to transform the country's bitter politics and unite the nation. Alaska's congressional delegation, all of whom are Republican, released video reactions to the president's speech. Here's what some of them had to say.
The president said he was going to have an upbeat speech about the future. And I think it was a lecture of his vision, and because we haven't acted on it, he believes we're wrong. I think we're right. And that's a congressional position to have.
In the last year of his presidency, President Obama has a choice to make. He can either act alone to pursue policies that will move our nation backwards, or he can work with Congress, as he suggested that we needed to do.
The Congress is going to continue to work in a bipartisan way to address our challenges. We're going to work for resolutions to some of the biggest challenges America faces. We'll welcome the president's involvement.
The University of Alaska President James Johnson gave a State of the University address at the Margaret Murray Building on the UAF campus Tuesday night. Johnson reassured those in attendance and those listening to live stream that the UA has never been stronger than right now. However, with dwindling state dollars, officials are looking at downsizing or cutting programs not deemed essential to Alaskans. Johnson also touched on the need for the university system to be a part of a developing homegrown K-12 teacher workforce.
The number one thing that keeps me up at night is not the budget, it's not our facilities, it's teacher education. We are filling only 30% of the vacancies each year across our state. We've got to move that up. I would love in 10 years to be able to report that we're filling 90% of the new teacher vacancies in Alaska from a University of Alaska campus. That way we really change our state. We create an education culture in our state by doing that.
British Petroleum is cutting about 4,000 jobs worldwide, and about 270 of those will be in Alaska. That represents about 13% of the company's Alaska workforce. Most of the reductions will be made in the oil and gas exploration division. The cuts are due mostly to low oil prices, with the latest being North Slope crude dropping below $30 a barrel yesterday. Company officials say the cuts will occur throughout 2016.
With tax season in full swing, the Better Business Bureau warns of new twists on tax scams hammering consumers. According to the Better Business Bureau Scam Tracker, tax scams ranked at the top nationally in 2015 with more than 2,000 reports out of 10,000. The Internal Revenue Service says consumers lost more than $23 million over the past 3 years to imposters posing as federal agents, tricking victims into making false payments. There have already been reports of scammers posing as IRA agents, deceptive advertisements claiming to greatly reduce a person's tax liability, and scammers using stolen personal information, social security numbers, and falsified W-2 information to file fraudulent tax returns in the victim's name. The Better Business Bureau urges people to be especially careful online during this tax season.
You want to be sure that you're on a secure server. If you're at home, you want to be careful of filing any kind of tax returns at a public library or something like that. You've got to be really careful. Never click on an email link, even if it looks like it's from the IRS, because they are not going to send you an email. When you mail those tax returns in, if you're not doing it, through your tax preparer on a secure line, you don't want to put it into an unsecured mailbox and put that red flag up, because guess what? That's a red flag to identity thieves out there to steal stuff out of your mailbox.
All right, before we go to the break, a viewer alert here. We have been operating with no teleprompters for the whole week due to a mechanical malfunction, so we appreciate your patience. Bear with us. That should be fixed by tomorrow. So let's move on with sports. Joe Cook is up next with some interesting Iditarod news in sports. Also, he takes a look at an important week for UAF hoops and highlights from Tuesday night's hockey.
Stay tuned. Sports is next.
Welcome back, Interior Alaska. Joe Cook here with your local Hump Day Sportscast. Now, back in 2003, the Iditarod had its restart in Fairbanks, and they had it again last year. Now, hold on to your seats, Mushroom fans, because the Iditarod could be back again. According to an article in the Daily News Miner, Stan Hooley, the Iditarod's chief executive officer, is set to meet with Borough Mayor Carl Castle and local officials on Tuesday, January 19th, to discuss another restart in Fairbanks as an alternative. Above average temperatures and the lack of snowfall in the south central part of the state have caused concern for the first 50 miles of the race. Given the weather in recent years, Fairbanks in the interior could become a regular alternative for such an important race. The final route for the Iditarod will be determined on February 12th. 80 mushers have signed up for the Super Bowl of Dog Mushing, which is slated to start on Saturday, March 5th. Both Alaska Nanook basketball teams have chances to extend winning streaks or even start some this week. The women's team, they won back-to-back conference games for the first time this season, powered by Jordan Wilson's GNAC Player of the Week performances in those two wins. This week they traveled to NNU. The Crusaders and Nanooks are tied with a 2-4 conference record. Central Washington, who the Nooks play Saturday, tied for fourth with a 3-3 record. Now, the men's team, they continue their 4-game homestand against MSUB on Thursday. The Yellow Jackets, they have lost their last 3 outings. Then this Saturday is the big one. UAF hosts UAA in a number 1, hopefully versus number 2 clash. Alaska is tied for second in the GNAC with a 5-1 record, while UAA is a perfect 7-0 and riding an 8-game winning streak. Tip-off for the men's games are at 7 p.m. at the Patty Center. Mick Durham talked about the matchups in the UAF Athletic Department's Coaches Corner segment today.
Well, it's really important that we concentrate on Thursday. Montana State Billings comes in. I like how they're playing. They like to get up and down. So, I mean, the biggest key is, we got to take it one game at a time and take care of Thursday first. Well, they do a great job of spreading the floor. They are guys that can shoot the 3. They like to get up and down. They're scoring a bunch of points also. A little bit more perimeter oriented than inside oriented than some teams Coach Osborne's had in the past. But, you got to get back and get your defense set and do the best you can.
Former Alaska Nanook Logan Hahnemann is going to represent Team USA in Romania next month. Hahnemann earned a spot on Team USA's under-23 national team after 4 races at the U.S. Cross Country Championships in Houghton, Michigan last week. Hahnemann finished with 160 points, which is second best among U23 skiers. He placed 9th and 11th overall in 2 sprints. The top 5 skiers make it on the team. Hahnemann, a Lathrop product, will now be on Team USA's U23 squad for a 3rd straight year. The World U23 Championships will be February 23rd and 24th in Rožnov, Romania. The Monroe Rams hockey team they're always in the crosshairs of their opponent, but especially now because they haven't lost a game yet. And last night they had a tough task visiting 4A North Pole at the Polar Ice Center. Sophomore Darren Donovan, he put the Patriots up first with his solo goal on Nate Jankowski in the first period, 1-0 Patriots. But less than 2 minutes later, Michael Coyley tied this game up for the Rams, and that started a big night for him. Monroe was up 3-1 after a Ryan Michelle goal to close out the first period. They were up 3-1 in the second, and the Patriots then went to McCoy Walker in between the pipes. Donovan's second goal of the game made it a 2-3 game going into the third, but Coyley scored the critical insurance goal on a Dylan Steele assist, his 3rd of the night. Coyley had 3 goals in this one. Jankowski finished with 31 saves for the Rams, and Monroe, they improved to 14-0 with a 4-2 victory over North Pole.
First period was a little rough to begin. They picked it up. Penalties were kind of hurt, and no one was playing together for the 3rd period. I think everyone kind of started talking was a big deal. Power play wasn't really working at first, and I think coach came in and talk, and movement was a big deal for us on the power play. I think a big part of it has to do with everyone liking each other on a hockey team. That's something very rare to find, and everyone on the team likes each other.
Also in prep hockey, the Hutchinson Hawks dismantled the Tri-Valley Warriors 12-2 last night. Brandon Rustad went off for 5 goals and had a couple assists to lead all skaters for 7-point night. Cole Britton added a hat trick and a helper. The Hawks improved to 3-3 in the Great Lakes Conference and 5-6 overall. Lastly, here's a heads up for a big week of high school hoops. The Monroe Rams, they hosted the Mount McKinley Bake Classic, a very entertaining competitive tournament. And this week is going to be Lathrop's turn. They will host the Joe T Classic at Lathrop on Joe T Court. They invite some of the top teams in 4A, both Ketchikan boys and girls teams. They're off to great starts this year, and they will be in the tourney. South Anchorage boys and girls are in the mix as well as West Valley girls and the North Pole boys teams. Games are at 3, 4:30, 6, and 7:30 Thursday through Saturday. For the full schedule, check for it on the Webster11.com sports page. Also this week, Hutchinson and Monroe will meet in Aurora Conference play on Friday night, while the West Valley boys host the Kodiak Bears for a weekend series. And that'll do it for sports tonight. Thanks for watching. Your full weather forecast is coming up next. And as always, we'll catch you next time.
And welcome back to our weather block for this evening. As you can see, our almanac is up, so let's get right to it. Our recent high today was 9, our recent low -5. That happened earlier this morning. Record high set in the state, 1917, 34 degrees. Compare that to our record low, 1934, 65 below. That is crazy cold right there, and so glad it's not happening in 2016. Sun rose today at 10:33 a.m., set 3:29 p.m., giving us 4 hours and 56 minutes of daylight. That's a gain of a few minutes over yesterday. Winds are out of the east, 5 to 15 miles per hour, and the barometer's holding steady at 29.60. Taking a look around the state today, why don't we start Panhandle up this time? Of course, the rain and moisture that we predicted, forecasted for you yesterday, yep, that happened in Juneau today. Showers for them, as well as for Ketchikan, high of 42 for them. In the Anchorage Bowl area, 31 degrees, just almost right at freezing point. Kodiak, a little colder than normal at 28 degrees. Cold Bay, 35. That's been pretty much typical all week. And on the west coast, Bethel, 17. Nome, 18 degrees. Barrow, -6, a little chillier. Well, chillier in Fort Yukon, -8. And of course, our stuff in the middle there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the lower 48. Let's see what we can see down there. Now, I did bone up a little bit on here, and I do know that a low pressure system is going to be hitting, starting off through Texas, and actually they're going to have some cause for some severe thunderstorms in some of the counties, but that won't be much. What that low pressure system will actually do through the weekend will actually go north and start hitting the eastern states, New York and Washington area, and there could be some lake effect snows in Buffalo, New York, as well as some just extreme weather conditions for this winter. So that's something to watch out for if you're commuting down to there. Otherwise, Pacific Northwest and the West looking fairly nice this time of year. 59 degrees for San Francisco, cold in Vegas at 51, 66 for Phoenix, Arizona. Let's go ahead and take a look there. Yep, that's that low pressure system I was talking about. And of course, colder temperatures being pulled down from Canada due to the jet stream being lower than usual, and that's going to cause freezing conditions for them, some lake effect snows, as well as showers through the coastal states. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at our kids' weather watch for this Wednesday. And of course, in 1886, you remember that, a great blizzard struck Kansas without warning. Now, that storm claimed 50 to 100 lives and 80% of the cattle in the state. Wow, did not know about that. That is very interesting. Thank you to Mount McKinley Bank for 50 years of service to the community. And of course, Mike will return next Monday and welcome the 3rd grade class from Tickassook Brown Elementary School. Let's go ahead and take a look at tomorrow's forecasts today. That's why we call it today's forecast for tomorrow. Starting up north, mostly cloudy across the region. Snow flurries in Barrow and Nome. Temperatures ranging from -12 in Fort Yukon to 11 in Nome. Here in the interior, what can we expect? Well, more of the same. A little cooler as it was today. It started getting colder towards sunset. -4 projected for tomorrow, Delta -1, and there is possibility of flurries throughout the interior. Let's go ahead and take a look down at the Panhandle and see what we see. Continued rain and wetness down there for Juneau and Ketchikan. Ketchikan cooling off into the 30s. Juneau staying right above freezing for them. Over to the southwest we go, and mixed bag of weather, as Mike likes to say. 33 flurries for Cold Bay, Bethel. Sunny, though, in Kodiak, so not bad. Chance of rain or snow in that area. In the Anchorage Bowl, 2 inches of snow predicted for Anchorage, scattered snow showers for Valdez, and periods of snow for Homer, and temperatures cooling off quite a bit from the 30s today into the 20s for tomorrow. Okay, let's go ahead and tell you about our short-range forecast overnight. Expect a low of around -4, scattered snow showers, through the evening into the early morning, and then we can expect mostly cloudy with scattered snow showers at that point throughout the day. Then taking a look at our extended range forecast, and things haven't changed too much. We're still looking at temperatures in the single digits to double digits for highs, overnight lows just in the single digits by weekend. Still not terrible, and we were talking yesterday about getting some snow. We could use that snow that Anchorage is getting right now
I
for
know.
all those trails.
Yeah, most definitely, especially with the Yukon Quest just a couple weeks away, February 6th.
That is true. That's the first race, and then Iditarod. So hopefully that snowpack that they're getting down there will help them out and make them make their decision a little better for them.
I don't know. I'm hoping that they don't get any snow so the restart can be up here again.
Absolutely. It's always fun when the Iditarod's up here as well as the Yukon Quest as well.
Most definitely.
All right, that will wrap up this edition of the Fairbanks Evening News. We are glad you could join us.
Tonight on NBC Nightly News, the $1.5 billion Powerball jackpot feeds the ticket-buying frenzy. That's next with Lester Holt.
So much so that I called home and actually got some tickets, so
Nice.
I actually played some numbers. So,
right.
But as always,
luck
you
to
can join
you.
us here 6 days a week at 6 and 11 or online anytime at webcenter11.com.
From all of us here at the News Center, have a great night.